Hey guys, it's Darwin here with my weekly Q&A to answer more of your questions. If you want to ask a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this week's first question. Hey Darwin, what do you think about rain pants? On your 2016 AT gear list, I haven't found one. Just comfort or something essential? So, good question, Stevie. I am not a huge rain pants person. There are a lot of people that really dig rain pants, along with the jacket, having a full rain suit. My whole concept and my whole thought is whenever you're out on a trail like the AT, you're just gonna constantly be getting wet regardless. So I just really wear shorts to hike in, and at the end of the day, I just dry out. So I'm willing to get wet to not have to carry rain pants. To me, rain pants are just kind of a hindrance. They're super baggy and kind of annoying. They swish, they get super hot. It's like wearing trash bags on your legs. But you know, it's all a personal preference. For me, personally, I'm just not a rain pants person. Like I said, I wear a rain jacket to keep my top dry, but as far as my legs go, I'm usually just willing to get wet and then at the end of the day, drying out. Now there's some other items out there that I've kind of been interested in checking out, like a rain kilt, but for now, no man, I'm not a rain pants person. I just get wet.
Hey Darwin, I'm Yankee with Yankees Outdoor Adventures. I noticed in your video you mentioned you're going to be doing some solo hiking, so I'm kind of curious if you've done a lot of solo hiking in the past, and if you have, was it a difficult adjustment doing a solo part of it, or did you accustom to it really easy?
Hey Yankee, so yeah, as most of you know, me and my wife Snuggles are usually hiking partners. We hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2015 and in 2016. But last year I actually set out on my first solo adventure, and that was bike packing the Arizona Trail. Now I only got about 250 miles in, but being out there by myself, I did have to learn kind of a completely different trail experience because I didn't have Snuggles with me. I really love my wife, but I also sometimes, you know, we're together every single day. Sometimes I miss those times where I can be out in the woods by myself and enjoying nature with my own thoughts. So that is one thing I really love about solo hiking. And then this year, about 2 months ago, I hiked a section of the Continental Divide Trail, and I did that 120-mile section completely solo and really dug that as well. And I've mainly been doing those types of tricks just because next year when I do my Thru-Hike of the PCT, I'm gonna be doing that entire trail solo. And yeah, I think I've been able to adjust to it pretty well. There's always those first handful of nights when you're out on the trail where I kind of feel lonely and wish I had Snuggles there to talk to relate to cook food with. But after those first couple of nights of adjusting, I absolutely love being out there by myself. The other thing that I really enjoy about being out on a trail by myself is it allows me to do a lot of thinking, be creative, and come up with ideas for trips, making YouTube videos. Something I don't do typically when I'm with other people on the trail because I'm a very interactive person. I love having conversations with people on the trail about gear or food or mileage. So when I'm out there by myself, I can really think, come up with ideas, and be creative. How do you wash your clothes on the trail? How often, what technique, and what soap? Or do you just stink/sweat it up until you get into a town or a hostel or public restroom? So it all depends, Daniel. Most of the time, yeah, we're just getting sweaty and we're just getting stinky out on the trail. It's just something you kind of learn to live with. And it's one of those things that coins that phrase, hiker trash. It's really hard to stay clean when you're out on the trail, so sometimes you just kind of learn to embrace that stink. But if it's been a really hot, sweaty, sticky kind of day, when I get to camp, I'll usually take like my buff, go to a creek or some sort of water stream, get it wet, and just kind of give myself a wipe down bath. And then I really don't do laundry until, yeah, we get into some sort of a town, we're staying at a hostel or a hotel. A lot of times we'll just use a regular washing machine to do our laundry, but on more occasions than not, we actually usually just wash our clothes in like a bathtub or a sink in the hostel or the hotel. We always carry a little bitty bottle of Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap, so typically we'll just like fill up a sink or fill up a bathtub with hot water. We'll put a little bit of that in there, put our clothes in there, and just kind of squeeze out all the nasty dirt and crap, and then hang it up in the bathroom or somewhere in the hotel room, and then by the morning it's usually pretty good and dry and ready to go. But again, it all depends on the situation on the trail. Sometimes we'll stop in a town that doesn't have a laundromat or in a hostel or a hotel that doesn't have laundry facilities, so in that case we just wing it and do it hiker trash style.
Hi Darwin, I'm Bee from Nashville, Tennessee. I was just wondering if you have any pets, and also what is your personal opinion on people bringing their dogs with them on extended hikes?
So, great video question. Yeah, we do have a dog. We have a dog named Bowie, who is a black lab. We've had her for about 8 years, and she travels a lot with us on the road, going from national park to national park, but she doesn't really do a lot of hiking with us. When we were on the AT in 15 and in 16, she actually stayed in our hometown with Snuggles' mom. She's a big, lazy dog. When she was young, she loved to hike, but now taking her out on a trail would just be a little bit more of a hindrance. She would probably hike like a pretty good solid day, then after that, pass out on the ground and not go anywhere again. So we decided not to take her with us when we hike. Now, as far as my thoughts on other people bringing a dog to do a hike, it's all up to you. Now, one thing that I've kind of answered it a couple times in some emails and some other Q&As, but we have known a handful of people to have dogs out on, say, the AT, and it is much more of a hindrance to have a dog with you than not. Number one, the first thing that you have to realize is when you have a dog with you that it is no longer your hike, it's the dog's hike. Making sure your dog is comfortable, making sure your dog's not carrying too much weight. And then there are a lot of places on like the AT that you can't have a dog at. Baxter State Park, the Smokies, the Shenandoahs. There's all these different sections and pretty big sections that you can't have a dog in. So you have to be able to make arrangements to have your dog picked up, hike that section, and then grab your dog again. So a lot of times it can be a huge hindrance. There's also places on the trail that are insanely hard for dogs. A good example of that is like the White Mountains in New Hampshire. It's just a lot of rock scrambling. And if you have kind of a small dog or something that's not this massive rock climbing dog, it can actually be really hard and kind of abusive on your dog. So again, it's all a personal preference. And you have to accept that you have to take a lot more responsibility for your dog. But yeah, I personally would never bring a dog on the trail just because of all those reasons that I just mentioned. It's just, it tends to be harder on the dog and harder on you. So in my opinion, it's best to leave your canine friend at home. Hey Darwin, I'm planning to do the PCT next year with my girlfriend. What's your experience? How difficult is it to hike 5 months together and not end up hating each other? So that's a great question, Luca, and I've been getting that a lot lately. So Snuggles and I are actually going to be releasing a hiking as a couple video, so keep an eye out for that. But until that video comes out, I'll give you a little bit of my experience. Hiking with another person, whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, or just a random friend hiking partner, can be very challenging for a lot of different reasons. Everybody has their own hike, hence the term hike your own hike. So it's really hard to take two people and do the same hike. Number one, people hike at different paces, so there's always someone that is having to hike another person's pace. Making certain trail decisions, like some days I want to hike more miles than what Snuggles might want to hike, so I have to compensate and hike less than what my body can handle, and sometimes she has to overcompensate and hike more because I want to do it. So there are a lot of those types of technical problems with hiking with another person, but one great thing that I can tell you from hiking with Snuggles in 2015 and 16 on the trail is it made our relationship much stronger. I would never say that hiking with somebody would kind of put you on the edge of hating them. It definitely frustrates you. You're out on the trail and you're stressed all day long. You're physically stressed, you're mentally stressed, you're cold, you're hot, you're hungry. So that other person that's with you sometimes can kind of be like your punching bag. They're the only person that you can really relate to and bitch to. So, you know, in your typical everyday life, you have coworkers and friends and families that you can let out your feelings and you can talk to things with. When you're out on the trail and you have one hiking partner, that's the person that you share everything with. So sometimes it can be kind of stressful and aggravating to the other person because you're kind of going off of each other all the time. But even though it can be aggravating and be hard, it's also a great experience. So good luck in planning for that. Just remember, keep your cool, be fair out on the trail, and try not to kill each other.
Hey Darwin, Keith outside of Richmond, Virginia. Have you ever used or ever reviewed the compressed towels? These happen to be by Dr. Wipe. Just add water, biodegradable, 100% cellulose, little drop of water, you pull them out, and it's like a very strong paper towel. Weight-wise, I'm not sure if this would really compete with TP or anything like that on the trail, but just curious to know even for the novelty use, have you ever used these or had a chance to review these? Thanks so much for taking my question. Love your channel.
Yeah, man, I just got a huge bag of those things. So crazy that you just asked that question, because literally just a week ago, I got a massive bag of them from the outfitter that I work at. They had had a bunch of them for years, and finally I asked about them and they said that I could have as many as I wanted, so I put together this massive bag. Now, I've never used them out on the trail during like a thru hike or something for, as a replacement for toilet paper, but I hear a lot of people are switching to those. Now, time will tell whether it's worth it versus weight of a, just a tube of toilet paper, but they are super interesting, and that's why I got that big bag, is to start putting those to the test. But it is something that I'm interested in using and testing to see if they are more efficient than your regular roll of shit tickets. The other reason that I got that big massive bag is because when Snuggles and I move into our mini camper, we pretty much wanted something to replace like paper towels with. So I saw an opportunity to score all these towels and I grabbed them. Because I'll probably do a big review on them and let you know if I think they're more efficient than TP.
Tom from El Paso. How does the hurricane season affect the AT?
So Tom, the hurricane season absolutely does affect the AT. Both in 15 and 16, we hiked big sections of the Appalachian Trail that were rerouted or blown down because of damage from hurricane winds and rains and stuff. So it all depends on what season and in what section of the AT that it does affect it. So typically every year before the thru hiking season starts, the ATC will post all of those closures and reroutes over on their website. But yes, the hurricane season definitely affects the AT, especially up in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, those places that are much closer to the coast. But the ATC and the local trail clubs do a phenomenal job of cleaning that stuff up and rerouting the trail. All right, guys, so last question of the week is another video question. Roll it.
Hey, Darwin. I've got a question on those blood-sucking critters, ticks. Given your personal experience with them, can you tell us, one, how to prevent interactions or from getting a tick bite? And two, what to do if you have a tick bite or how to diagnose one? And three, what are the implications of getting a tick bite and what treatment options do we need to pursue? Looking forward to gaining your perspective.
Yeah, man, ticks can be pretty gnarly out on the AT, especially up in the northern sections of the trail. Now, I'm sure most of you might know in 2015, I got bit by a pretty gnarly tick and contracted ehrlichiosis, which is kind of a form of Lyme's disease, and that's one of the contributing factors that took me off the trail. So I've definitely had my experience with ticks. Now, ticks are something that I've always grown up with coming from the Midwest and southern Indiana. But growing up, if you did get a tick on you, you just removed it, make sure you get the head out, and then wash the spot to make sure it wasn't getting infected. However, out on the AT, especially up in the northern section, those ticks carry Lyme's disease, and it's really, really common up there. So you definitely have to watch out for ticks on the AT. Some of the things that you can do to protect yourself against ticks is using something like permethrin, which is a spray that you can spray down all your clothes and gear that will help repel ticks, using things like DEET and bug sprays, wearing longer clothes. So there are a lot of things to help prevent from getting ticks. But in my experience, ticks are just gonna happen out there. There's not a whole lot you can do to be completely immune to ticks. You just have to really watch it and really be vigilant, because if you start getting something like the bullseye rash, you might have Lyme's disease. Or if you're starting to show any weird signs of weird fevers or muscle aches, you need to get off the trail and get to a hospital and get to a doctor and get that checked out, because I have seen that stuff really put some hikers down. So funny thing about you asking this question is this Thursday I'm actually putting out a video called Bugs on the Trail and how to deal with them, where I'll give you some more information on how to stay vigilant against those little blood-sucking bastards. Alright guys, so if you want to ask a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. If you haven't got a chance yet, go over and check me out on Instagram. Posting a lot of new photos lately of some of the things that Snuggles and I have going on throughout the week, plus some pictures from some past hikes. If you found any value in this video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and as always guys, thanks for watching.